Belleville City Council meeting for December the 1st, 2014 is hereby called to order. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumman.
Here.
Alderman Easterly. Alderman Stepps. Here. Alderman Walker. Present. Alderman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Brown. Here. Alderman Mays. Here. Alderman Hope.
Here.
Thank you. Each of you have a copy of the minutes from November the 17th. It's been properly moved and second that the minutes for November the 17th be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to committee reports, Ways and Means, Alderman Brumman.
Yes, Mayor. The Ways and Means Committee met prior to the meeting. We have two budget adjustments, one that was in our packets that we were presented. The first one is for a refund portion of energy efficiency and conservation block used on historic properties without proper authorization to Department of Energy. The total amount is $87,006.76. I just want to move that we accept this budget adjustment.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $87,006.76 for the Department of Energy Efficiency Grant Fund be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we also have a request from the police department. The request is to transfer $8,000 from the salary account to cover the telephone expense involved with the transfer to temporary facilities for police personnel during the Joe Thomas renovations. I move we accept this budget adjustment for $8,000.
It's been properly moved and second that a budget adjustment in the amount of $8,000 for the police department be approved. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I move that the bills that the city owes be paid.
Been properly moved and second that the bills for the city be paid. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes Ways and Means.
Thank you, sir. Ordinances and resolution, Alderman Brumman.
The Ordinance and Resolutions Committee met prior to the meeting, and we propose that the ordinances and resolutions that are presented on your agenda be followed as dictated on the agenda. And that concludes the report.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderman May says he wants to pull number 8. Otherwise, the items on the agenda will be processed as presented.
Thank you, sir. Economic and Community Development, Alderwoman Walker.
Mayor, the Economic and Community Development Committee met and approved the budget for 2015.
Thank you. Public Works, Alderman Mays.
Yes, Mayor. We got public health and welfare.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wonder where everybody was quiet. Okay. Public Health and Welfare. Sorry, Alderman Holcomb.
That's okay. You can buy me lunch today.
Okay. Don't tell anybody.
Public Health and Welfare met on and approved the budget for 2015, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Public Works, Alderman Mays.
We haven't had a meeting yet, but I just want to ask if we can get Mr. Larry Matthews to give us an update on city council update on University Drive and the final completion time and on that on University Drive.
Okay. Mr. Matthews, could you do that? Thank you.
Yes. Fortunately, I had met with the highway engineers a couple of weeks ago. They are ahead of schedule with the actual road construction. There was a portion that they change ordered in from Pullen to Martha Mitchell that was not originally part of the project. Other than that, and laying the second layer of asphalt on that section back north, they will be complete with that portion of the highway hopefully by the end of January. The weather permitting, they will have the road construction completed. But remember, after we get through with that, we have the underground utility that has to go in with Entergy, and we also have the street lighting that will go in simultaneously with it. So we still have another year's worth of work and construction to be done on University Drive. And basically, they've done a very good job. They had a few failures with the curbs. They had to go out and take them out, and a few failures with the underground drainage, but all that has been replaced. So they are pleased with the progress, and as soon as we finish that second section, that last change order, we should have the project completed as far as road construction.
So what about the lights on the highway?
Okay.
As far as the street lights as well, it's dark on that corner. I asked Mr. Henning about that a while back. He said it's gonna take another 4 to 6 weeks. That's to light the highway part of it.
Right, and they're changing all of that out, and I'm not sure, because the lights have been installed for quite a while. I'm not sure why they have not changed the one out on Martha Mitchell, what the reasoning was. I'm almost sure that they wanted to complete the other section because there are some hardware that goes in that section between Martha Mitchell and Pullard that will have to deal with the lights itself. So that's probably the reason they haven't changed those out. And the other, that goes along with the lighted part, the street light part of that intersection will be changed out as well. And once the underground is in, there will be brand new, beautiful street lights going all the way down University, all the way out to the stage. It will be totally replaced.
Alderman Brummett's got a question.
Yes.
Every time I've gone out there, I try to not get upset because it seems like it's taken a long time, and I think that's what Alderman Mays is saying as well. The one question that I want to make sure I'm clear on is on the lighting. I know we paid extra money, the city did,
Yes.
to make sure that there were underground utilities, that there were steel poles, that everything was going to be first class.
Right.
And I go out there now and I see the wooden poles.
Yes.
As I understand, those are temporary. I want to make sure the public knows that.
Yes.
And that they will all be replaced, and it's going to look really good when they get done.
Yes. They will be replaced. Actually, the Entergy and the lighting part is totally separate from what the construction work that's going on now. There will be different contractors. There are different engineers on that portion of it. It was easier to replace all the lights after the construction was done rather than try to do it all at once. Too many people on the job doing too many different things. So the city did agree to let them construct the road first, and then we will come back and do the underground lighting.
But the poles and so on that are there
That's
now,
all coming out.
that's all temporary.
You won't see the Cobra heads that are out there
Right.
now. No, there's a totally different
Okay,
set of lights that are going in.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Brown.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I will take your word for it that they have been working real hard. There have been times when I didn't see nobody working. And I said, they're not gonna be through with football season started. I fish a lot, and I go down that, like, to where I buy my baby, and it's like, nobody was here when I left that morning. Nobody even, you said that they've been working, and I'm gonna take your word for it. But however, I'm glad you cleared it up about those lights, because I have a person, a friend of mine, my fishing buddy said that we were gonna have those ugly looking lights. And I said, no, we're not.
No.
And so I'm glad you cleared it up, and I hope the press, let him know that, because he jumps on it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Believe me, they will be replaced. We've had some rounds with Energy on that, and they did kind of yield to the city. Energy did not want to do it. They have their own type of lights, but they yield to the city, and in fact, they gave us a few more dollars to put those lights in, so they will go in.
Thank you. One more thing.
Yes.
They're not gonna pave the road and then come back and put the cable in and try to road and patch it back up.
Oh, no. No. Everything is tunnel underground now. We made sure that no one will be cutting the highway.
Any other questions? Great update. Thank you, sir. Okay. Development and Planning, Alderman Boyd.
Ma'am, we have a amendment on a few houses when we get down to item 11 and 12, I believe. I think everyone has a copy of it. And also, the development plan is met on November 24th. Approved the budget that was presented.
Thank you, sir. Right there. Okay, traffic and aviation, Alderman Brown.
Thank you. Traffic and aviation did meet, and I would like to stay on last week, but it was a short week, and I'm afraid we feel like it's been 2 weeks, I don't know. But we did complete our budget. That concludes my project.
Thank you. Administration, Alderman Steps. Okay, thank you, sir. Public safety, no report. You want
Alderman
to?
Easterly is ill and not able to be here tonight, but Public Safety did review the various budgets for the police and fire department, and there are other items that we still are looking at. We will meet tomorrow with the district court to finalize their budget at 1:30 and try to move forward with completing the public safety portion of the budget at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions, Alderman Brummett.
Yes, Mayor, we have an ordinance repealing ordinance number 6484, amending Chapter 13 to add a classification residential housing repair by owner, but excluding personal residence, and for related purposes up for the second reading.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 6484, amending Chapter 13 to add a classification residential housing repair by owner, but excluding personal residence, and for related purposes.
Place it on the calendar. We have an ordinance amending Section 2-157 and 2-158 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to permit submission of bids via electronic media and related purposes up for the first reading.
Whereas the city code currently does not permit submission of bids by electronic media, and whereas in today's technology-driven business climate, the city should provide for the option of receiving bids via electronic media to promote efficiency and to benefit and enhance commerce. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, Section 2-157 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff is amended to add a new subsection C. A quotation submitted by electronic media may be submitted for a telephone quotation required in subsection A, as a written quotation required under subsection B, provided that when accepted under subsection B, the electronic submission must be reduced to printed form for record purposes. Section 2-158 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff is amended to add the following as a new paragraph to the current section. City offices, departments, boards, and commissions shall have the option, if desired, of receiving bids via electronic media in such form and under such specifications and conditions as the office, department, board, or commission may prescribe in the bid solicitation. Section 3, all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict with this ordinance are repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 4, this ordinance being of general or permanent nature, it shall be published as required by law. Section 5, this ordinance shall take effect on the 31st day after its adoption or the date of publication, whichever is later.
We'll place it on the calendar, but ask the administration committee to please review before we have a final vote.
We'll have a meeting on the 11th at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Next, Mayor, we have an ordinance amending Section 10-28 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to change the title of the Deputy Chief of the Fire and Emergency Services Department to Assistant Chief up for the first reading.
Whereas it is desired to change the title of Deputy Chief of the Fire and Emergency Services Department to Assistant Chief to have uniformity of rank with the Police Department. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, Section 10-28A2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas is amended to delete the word deputy and substitute in its place assistant so as to effect a change of the title of the position named therein from Deputy Chief to Assistant Chief of the Fire and Emergency Services Department. The remaining provisions of the paragraph are unchanged. Section 2, this ordinance being of general or permanent nature, it shall be published as required by law. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect on the 31st day after its adoption or upon publication, whichever is later.
We'll place this on the calendar and ask the administration committee to also review it and make a recommendation back to the council. Okay. We have a resolution amending resolution number 3688 to correct legal description of property conveyed to Jefferson County Habitat for Humanity.
Whereas in resolution number 3688 passed March 17, 2014, the city conveyed certain real property to the Jefferson County Habitat for Humanity. And whereas the property description in the resolution was incomplete, and it is necessary to amend the resolution to accurately reflect the description of the property conveyed as the grantee has paid for the property. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the legal description found in Section 1 of Resolution Number 3688 passed March 17, 2014 is amended to reflect the following as the property conveyed to Jefferson County Habitat for Humanity, to wit, and the description is as follows.
Move for adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution amending Resolution 3688 to correct legal description of property conveyed to Jefferson County Habitat for Humanity. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution regarding the 2020 census count.
Whereas it behooves city government to be prepared for the 2020 national census to ensure that the population of Pine Bluff is accurately counted via updated city maps and other measures to protect the interests of the citizenry. And whereas the city should commit to contesting the 2020 count if it reflects a population of less than 45,000 or there is proof of irregularities calling the result into question. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the City of Pine Bluff pledges that it will identify and undertake measures within its power to promote an accurate count and to contest any count which reflects a population for the city of less than 45,000 or any amount if there is proof of irregularities in the process calling the accuracy of the count into question.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution regarding the 2020 census count be approved. Floor is now open for discussion.
Yes, Mayor. We're just trying to be proactive with a lot of these issues going on with that 71602 zip code and the boundary line. I'm just asking you all for your support on this resolution so that we can continue to move forward in the city. I've been trying to explain a lot of in detail, a lot of this, what's going on with the boundary line and the zip code and the franchise fees and things like that. And I'm asking if you wanted a clear definition of giving a call. I understand that some of you all, I've tried to make it plain. And I need your support on this. I really do. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Is this the first time this resolution is being brought forward?
No, I think he pulled it.
Was it pulled or?
Yeah. He pulled it.
I guess my question is that, we're talking about 5 years out, and I'm trying to see the impact that it's going to have on what we're trying to do now. And what was the reason we pulled it before?
Just decided to do it.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, sir.
I did talk to May's before, after he had pulled it before, and he explained some things at that time. But I think that he is committed to it, and I guess it would be something that is on the books if at that time if he remembers that it's there. Like I said, before when he pulled it, and I probably would not have supported it at that time when he pulled it, but I think I can now.
Alderman Brummett.
My concern is setting a level of 45,000. I think we ought to say we're going to contest it if we fall
Does it
below
drop?
anything. I don't like these values that are in here at all, and I really think that's a frivolous piece of legislation. It's unneeded because I think it's something we ought to do regardless in 2020, is to contest every time the findings if we feel there's inaccuracies or inadequacies. And I don't feel like this legislation is really needed. That's my
Last
position.
time it wasn't contested, it should have been, I think.
It should have.
We support it, and I just don't want us to drag our feet during that time. It's just a way of being proactive in order to give our citizens more details on where we're headed with all of this. And I'm asking you just for your support. I mean, like I said, if you don't understand the full, all the details, I'll explain it again. I'll show you the details of it. And once again, I'm just asking for your support, please.
Alderman Mays, maybe you could amend it to say that it would be contested, at, when we have, whatever the amount.
Can amend it to, pass it and just make it, amend it to say that we will contest it at any average, census number.
In a decline in population, is that what's the criteria is going to be?
Well, at any time, because if it declined, it would still be below what we're expecting. So it would just be that
Take that language out of it.
request a recount at any number, because it is below 50,000.
Could we just bring it back next time maybe and change the wording like that? I don't think you're going to be able to amend it.
We can make the changes, amend to it afterwards.
Alderman Boyd?
He don't want to bring it back, but I think that's just putting other stuff on the book. Here it is 2014, and when 2020 come, I'm sure we'll be knowledgeable enough to challenge it if we anywhere in that range. I think it's just another piece of legislation Mr. Mays bringing that don't really need to be considered.
Well, it's the citizens.
They have no effect.
The citizens, well,
They have no effect at all.
well, I mean,
Who's got the floor? Who's got the floor?
who has the floor?
Alderman Boyd?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't see where it's going to do anything.
Well, it's just something,
Alderman Boyd, are you through with your comments?
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Mays?
excuse me,
Thank you.
it's just something that some of the citizens have asked for as well. I mean, this is a city of Pine Bluff issue. It's not a Stephen Mays issue. And many of the citizens are asking for this. And that's why I'm asking you, if you need more details on what is headed with this issue, I'm glad to sit down and discuss it more with you.
Okay. Yes,
I,
ma'am.
I'm just trying to look at the impact of this legislation.
It's negative.
And that's my only concern. I'm not trying to go against Alderman Mays, and I like to support some legislation, but when I look at it, when we're talking about 5 or 6 years down the road, probably none of us might not even be here. But I'm just saying, I don't want to keep on putting legislation on the books, and then we pile it all up on top of stuff. I'm trying to see the impact of it. What's going to change? What's the impact of this legislation?
Well,
Ms. Walker?
I agree to an extent with what Alderman Steps is saying, but I will support it. We'll be part of history. In case some of us not here at that time, we'll be part of history when when the census is challenged. At that time, maybe we'll be glad that we did.
I just want to thank you again. The council right now is intact. I mean, we don't want to shift in the city council. And I'm asking you all to support this for me, not only just for me, but for the citizens of Pine Bluff and the citizens in that area. Just
Okay. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Alderman Brumman?
No.
Alderman Steps? No. Alderman Walker?
Yes.
Alderman Boyd?
No.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Mays?
Yes.
Alderman Hope?
No.
5-3. No.
It's 4-3.
4-4. 4-3? Okay. Fails, yes.
Fails, for lack of.
Yes.
Okay, we have a resolution requesting the police and fire and emergency services departments include on reports the mailing address of the property which is the site of the incident.
Whereas incident reports made by the police and fire and first responders include the physical location of the incident, but on occasion the physical location and the mailing address are not the same. And whereas it is desired to include in the incident report a mailing address when it is known or can be easily ascertained. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the police and fire and emergency services departments are requested in all incident reports prepared by officers or firemen to note the mailing address of the incident site when different from the physical address, and when the mailing address is known or can easily be ascertained. In order to avoid any redesign of the report form, the officer or fireman may make the address notation in the narrative portion of the report after the description of the incident.
Move for adoption.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that a resolution requesting the police and the fire and emergency services departments include on reports the mailing address of the property which is the site of the incident. Floor is now open for discussion.
That goes back to the zip code as well as the Dollarway area. When people are stopped in that area, they are directed, I'm hearing, to go to the Whitehall Court and pay the court fees and things like that in that area. Even though, just say a state trooper is on Dollarway Road or a sheriff stops somebody in the Dollarway area, which is considered a fourth of the Dollarway area, a fourth of it is called is being addressed as Whitehall, Arkansas. And they are the people, any offenses in that area, you'll be going to the Whitehall Court instead of Pine Bluff Court. And that's why I'm doing this, as well as some of the police reports on the reports that doesn't have the zip codes on it. And once again, some citizens, this is not for me, this is for the citizens of Pine Bluff. And that's for your support.
Alderman Steps?
Well, this is the third time this has come up. I contacted the judicial office. That's not how these cases are assigned. The judges assign the cases. They're not dictated by the police officer that stops them. The judges get together, they decide which case is going to be handled by Judge Bridgeforth and which one will be handled by Judge Kerner. So it's not that they are being casually done, that some would go to Whitehall and the county would get the revenue rather than the city. So when I heard that, I called to make sure how the process was being handled. And that process is not handled, that some is stopped on Dollarway and they automatically gets into Whitehall. The judges come together, they make a decision as to which judge handles the cases. Judge Kearney is a countywide judge, he can handle them also, but the judges make the decision as how the cases are dispersed to whatever judge.
What is this about?
Alderman Steps, are you done?
Well, we've had this to come up, and they even brought the reports and they showed us the reports of how the zip code and things that kind of on the accident report. And I think that for us to keep on, this is the third time, and I thought it might have been something there because of the way it was indicated that the judges, they did find the thing was being handled. But when I got it from the judges themselves, and that was the only concern that I thought that might have had some merit to it, but the other things in here, I don't think they have any merit to what we're trying to do, how we're dealing with it.
It's dealing with the court fees.
Wait, just a moment. Are you through, Mr. Alderman Steps? Okay. Alderman Mays?
Thank you, Mayor. It's just dealing with the court fees as well, but I'm just asking again for your support. That's all I can do on behalf of the citizens that ask me and the issues that are at hand. I'm just asking for your support, that's all.
Any other comments? Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Alderman Brummy?
No.
Alderman Steps?
No.
Alderman Walker?
Yes.
Alderman Boyd?
No.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Mays?
Yes.
Alderman Hope?
No.
Okay, 4-3. Okay. Dies for lack of fifth.
Mayor, we have a resolution requesting the mayor convey a meeting with representatives of the utilities serving the city for the purpose of ensuring franchise fees are being properly remitted.
Whereas it is of vital importance that the city ensure that utilities operating in the city and in Whitehall properly remit franchise fees to the correct municipality. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the mayor is requested to convey a meeting with representatives of all utilities operating in the city and in Whitehall. The purpose of the meeting is to review the protocols in place to ensure that franchise fees are paid to the proper municipality. A report of the meeting should be made to the City Council as soon as possible after it takes place.
Move for adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution requesting the mayor convey a meeting with representatives of the utilities serving the city for the purpose of ensuring franchise fees and are being properly remitted. Floor is now open for discussion.
Yes, ma'am. I've been with officials from the Arkansas Municipal League pertaining to the city boundaries and the zip code in the area. They looked into a lot of the issues that we have concern about, and one that was very cloudy was the franchise fees on by utility bills that's being shared in that 71602 zip code. Now, I was informed by Mr. Mark Hayes that he called Mayor Hollingworth and Mr. Steve Miller and gave them the insight on the indirect collection of the franchise fees within the city. I've talked with Mayor Hollingworth and Mr. Miller, and both have said that Mr. Hayes didn't call them, but I met with the municipal league, went up to Little Rock personally, and sat down and talked with him. And the only solution that he gave me was we have to get the utility companies together in one room and hash out and separate with the boundaries and the zip code as to where the municipal franchise fees are going to. If you look at utility bills, you'll see on utility bills, you see a municipal franchise adjustment on your energy bill, which is 0.0425% of your total bill, and on your CenterPoint bill, I think it's a flat rate of like 74. It went up down to $1.51, or it's less than $1 on that utility bill. And what has happened is being the city of Whitehall's municipal franchise fee on their CenterPoint bill, I believe, is 0.17. So a lot of that is like 17 cents. A lot of that revenue in the Dollarway area is being generated through the city of Whitehall by those municipal franchise fees on our utility bills, which offsets their low franchise fee. If you take time and look at utility bills, you understand what I'm saying. This stuff needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed quickly, because we're losing revenue as far as our franchise fees on our utility bills. And once again, the municipal league they have identified that along with the Arkansas Geographic Information. They even say that their boundary lines that they have are correct, and they're waiting on Mr. Larry Reynolds to give them the proper information on this issue. And that's what we voted on August 18th, to have the boundary lines. Now, Mr. Reynolds is getting a form together for the Postal Service. He sent me a copy. I'm pretty sure, I think all you have a copy of it. I read it. Some things in there that's positive for us solving this issue. And it needs to be solved, because some don't think it's a big issue, but let me tell you something, it's a big issue. And I want the citizens of Pine Bluff to know that I'm doing my best to solve these issues. And I'm giving it 100% of my time, because it needs to be addressed and it needs to be solved. I'm not going carrying this thing over into 2015, all the way to the end of 2015, because it won't be a good thing. Just letting you know. And once again, if Mr. Miller is in, am I right? Have Mr. Hayes called you all?
No, as I told you in the conversation that we had, Mr. Hayes did not call me regarding the franchise matter.
He told me eye to eye, personally, he called you and Hollingworth, to let you all know the discrepancies in this issue. Now, that's why I'm gonna ask him to come down, hopefully before the end of the year, so we can look into this a little bit more. But I went to Little Rock personally, and I was summoned up to hear this, and that's why I want to thank you.
Alderman Steps.
All right, one of the reasons that I can probably support it, if Mark Hayes said in the paper that, in the newspaper this weekend, he didn't address any of this. And it concerns me if Mark Hayes is telling Alderman Mays one thing and he's telling the reporters in the newspaper another. If he knows of these findings in these situations, and I think he being the representative for the municipal league, being the representative for the city, then I think that he has an obligation to come forward to bring this information to this council and to the city, and for it to be addressed. I don't want to say that he told the mayor and told Mr. Miller, and they said he didn't, and we saying that, well, he said it. Well, no. He needs to come here to this body, and he needs to make that statement. If he told you that, then he ought to be man enough to stand behind his word. And if not, I think that's the only way we're gonna get it cleared up. If he comes to the table, I don't know how we're gonna make these other people come to the table. But one of the things that I addressed early on, and it seemed like we've gotten away from that, I know that local sales tax issue is a big issue. Just recently here, I had a customer go to Lowe's, and they lived in the Pine Bluff area. And when the address popped up, the zip code popped up, it showed them being in Whitehall. And the lady told him, I don't live in Whitehall, I live in Pine Bluff. And he told her, well, the Whitehall taxes are lower than Pine Bluff taxes. One is 1% and one is 1.625%. Now, how many citizens is going to come up and say, well, I want the higher tax rate? That's the real issue, is the local sales taxes. And I think that I'm not trying to discount the franchise fees, but I think that if you're going to zero in on something, you ought to zero in on something that you know that's happening out here, and it's happening with the citizens every day. And it's not. I don't think it's because of Whitehall is the mayor. They're saying, okay, we want this to happen. But I think it's because of when the citizen goes out there and that zip code is on there, and when the people tell them that I don't live there, and you tell me that I can pay a lower tax, trying to figure out which way would we go. So I think that's the real issue. So if we're going to have an opportunity to get them to the table, then I'm for getting them to the table, especially Mark Hayes, since he's telling Alderman Mays one thing and not telling us the same thing.
I did speak with Mark Hayes.
Okay.
He did call me.
Okay.
Yes, but he did not tell me that he was going to call Steve Miller. Our conversation, when he got through talking to me, he was going to call Alderman Mays.
Okay.
That's what was said to me.
Okay. Would you care to share with what he said to you?
I'd be more than happy to. He went to the agency in which distributes and works with the franchise fees, and what he told me, there was no problem. And I said, will you please call Alderman Mays and tell him that? And he said, yes, I will. That was exactly what he told me. So I don't, there again, I'm not privileged to the conversation that Alderman Mays had with him. So if he's willing to come down here and sit at the table and talk about it, then that's probably what needs to happen. But he did talk to me, and that's the results that he gave to me. He went over there personally and spoke to the agency.
You said you see no problem?
That's what he told me.
He told me that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Mayor, this has been an ongoing problem, and it has stirred me up, so I really don't know, and I think that we really should find out. But what amazes me is 3 or 4 people in the city council is constantly trying not to get any new taxes on any fees in Arkansas. Now, I think we clearly are doing a report that says that all of our fees and our taxes are being paid to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I really think, I don't know, we can call it a shot in the dark, but it could be a shot in the dark that would be a profit for Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And so I think we need to stop talking as though we're from Whitehall. we're from Pine Bluff, we want the best for Pine Bluff. Let Whitehall make it the best way they can make it. But I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and if there's anything that look like that our fees or revenues are going anywhere else but Pine Bluff, Arkansas, surely, I want that to come out. So I will support this piece of legislation because I want every dime and every dollar and everything that Pine Bluff deserves to get in the city of Pine Bluff and not in the city of Whitehall where it goes anybody else. Thank you.
Alderman Brummett.
That's all right. I think that the different entities that have spoken at various forums that we've had on this issue have made it clear. If that particular piece of merchandise is delivered to an address that has a physical address, that physical address is going to determine where those how much tax is going to be charged on that item. If they send the lower amount to the state, I can assure you the state's going to turn around and change that with Lowe's, and the city of Pine Bluff will get their money. It's how it happens. It's how it works. You can say no all day long, but that's how it works. They make adjustments all the time, and they told us if we'll give them any specifics, they will look it up and adjust it. But nobody seems to have any specifics.
Yes, Alderman.
I was at that meeting. I didn't work for them for 37 years, and I know they're not going to go back.
They do it all the time.
No. If you got a Pacific incident, but how many Pacifics can you have with this many customers in the city that they got repairs and things done and out and being purchased? And I specifically asked Tom Ashley, the administrator, at that meeting, and I asked him, were there any incidents where they felt like that this problem could be happening? He said, well, I'm sure that it is. He said, but if you all bring it to our attention, then we'll go back and change it. I don't think they're going to automatically go back and change all these different sales tax reports. And he did mention that how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of accounts that they were dealing with. I don't think that they're going to go back there. They don't have the manpower to go back and do what you're talking about. And they, well, maybe they might do it for you, but I know they don't do it.
Computer does it automatically.
A location code is assigned to every address depending upon where the address is. It is a location code. That code is specific to Pine Bluff, 35-01. And that code is assigned per GIS mapping location. And that was told to us by I don't know how many different entities. There may be, and one of the things that Mr. Ashley did say is for those that might be reported wrong, and you're not talking about thousands of dollars that we might lose, but on the opposite side, you're going to gain as well for those that we've been getting that we should not be getting. So there's a balance between the two. Will it ever be perfect? Probably not. But if there is an incident, it's just like they said, let us know and we'll correct it. But if the code is wrong at Lowe's, then they need to look into it because they're the ones that puts the tax codes in.
The only thing I'm saying, Marion, and I agree in partially with what you're saying, but when the biggest issue, and I don't know how we're going to resolve that because we talked about that and the post office talked about that I don't think the biggest issues is your merchants and your vendors as is the problem that the zip code is created. And I think that's what's creating the biggest problem. Not that people keying it into their computers, but when that zip code got out there, and I understand from talking to different ones, is that it gave one location the opportunity to increase its route because they were talking about closing down some post offices. And in order to increase their routes, there was some zip code changes. And when it happened, a lot of us didn't say anything about it because we didn't know the adverse effect it was going to have, because we didn't realize it was going to spread so far over. But the zip code thing, it is an issue. It has created a lot of problems, especially when deliveries are made to a location in Pine Bluff and they said, this is not in Pine Bluff, and they take your product and send it back because you got a Whitehall address when your location is in Pine Bluff. And it has occurred on several occasions, and I got invoices showing that. But it is a problem, and we might not want to address it here, we might not can. But I think that the zip code situation has created some adversity.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
I agree with Alderman Steps, and I think that he have a lot of expertise because of the years of service that he served with DFA. But I know that people are not just going to automatically start looking to see if people have paid taxes in the right or the wrong place. So if it's not going to, it can only help. It's not going to hurt anything for this to be examined and get the people to the table and let it be so once and for all. And when it is what it is. But we can't afford to be losing dollars because we don't want to check. There's nothing wrong with checking.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Have they had this roundtable discussion before?
With utilities? No, sir, we have not.
Okay. The last meeting,
They invited DFA, the census, was it the census people?
Census, DFNA, and GIS.
That was not with, and that was not with the city. The city, this was not a roundtable conversation with the city. This was a situation with Coffee with the Chief. And the gentleman that was there from DFA, that he came up really with the same thing of how it's keyed in, and that is the issue. He said if it's keyed in a certain way, that the taxes would go to the location where it was keyed in, and that was the same thing that Alderman Steps was saying all the time. So the problem is of how it's keyed in, but it's only taking a little bit of time to examine, and I think that it would be behoove on us to be proactive and not say, well, if I had known this, I would have, because we need the money.
May I speak now?
Yes, sir.
And one more thing, I'll be finished. This is the solution that our legal counsel from the municipal league gave me to do, to bring the utility companies in together and hash out where those fees are going. This is the solution that they called me in Little Rock and sat me down and told me face to face. And that's why I'm doing this. We have to sit them down and hash out where they're going and how much are they, how long they've been doing this. I wouldn't do this stuff just to be doing it because it's serious business.
Okay, yes, sir.
I made the motion.
Okay. We move on? Thank you. Let's move on. Maybe have a roll call, please.
Alderman Brumman?
No.
Alderman Stepp?
Yes.
Alderman Walker?
Yes.
Alderman Boyd?
I vote yes, and it's gonna help the situation resolve.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Mays?
Yes.
Alderman Hope?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay, we'll move on to number 9, a resolution in support of the widening of other improvements for Arkansas Highway 190 and 6th Avenue corridor from 13th and Franklin to 6th and Blake in the city of Pine Bluff.
Whereas the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department is considering a project for the widening and other improvements to Highway 190 and 6th Avenue corridor in the city. And whereas this project will involve widening of the right-of-way of the highway, construction of needed sidewalks, and other improvements which will greatly enhance the corridor for vehicular and pedestrian travel. And whereas the council believes this project to be in the best interest of the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that we, the mayor, and the members of the City Council hereby endorse and express our support for the planned widening and other improvements to Arkansas Highway 190 and 6th Avenue corridor from 13th and Franklin to 6th and Blake in the city, and pledge the cooperation of the city in the completion of the project.
Move for adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that the resolution in support of the widening and other improvements for Arkansas Highway 190 and 6th Avenue corridor from 13th and Franklin to 6th and Blake in the city of Pine Bluff. Floor is now open for discussion.
I just want
Yes,
to
sir.
sign on as a sponsor.
Actually, we've got all aldermen have signed on as sponsors.
All of us sign on. Oh, that's what the extra back sheet was for, okay.
I'd like to go on record as saying, Ms. Mays, not to dispute what you have got, but we did meet with the with the highway department, July or August of this year. Larry's not here. Okay, and we were looking at 3 different sites that they were looking at to release back to the city. So we did respond to the letter, and I'm not sure what happened to the communication from that meeting, but
Initially, they were wanting to swap
that's right.
13th Street.
Yes.
They wanted to take 13th and let the city have 6.
And we were,
have spent millions of dollars on 13th, so
Yes.
we rejected that idea.
yeah,
And then they came back with the other offer.
right. So we did have a rather lengthy meeting on that. I'm not sure what happened to the communication back to you, but we did address it. So, any other discussion?
Everybody's on board.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, I would like to commend the Mazes for their commitment to this, because I know what it's like to be committed to something from my commitment to the railroad. And they are people that do not give up for what they believe and to make things happen. Because there are a lot of people have talked about 6th Street, why they don't do this and why they don't do that, because it's so narrow and people have to get in the ditch and all that type thing. But they are, when they take on the project, they are committed until they get it done. And this is a long time coming, but I think a change gonna come. And I applaud that.
All right.
Mayor, we have a resolution expressing the desire of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas for a return of passenger rail service to the city and surrounding communities.
Whereas in an earlier era, the city of Pine Bluff was served by passenger rail service connecting the city with other cities throughout the United States. And whereas Pine Bluff continues to be a hub for commercial rail service traversing the area with products made locally and nationally, and whereas passenger rail service is now primarily conducted by the federal government through Amtrak, with service in Arkansas limited to a corridor from the northeast through Little Rock to the southwest. And whereas passenger rail service is a fuel-efficient, ecologically friendly alternative to automobile and air travel, while providing a unique experience most Arkansans have not experienced. And whereas rail lines capable of sustaining passenger service exist between Pine Bluff, Memphis, Little Rock, and other cities, and whereas Pine Bluff would serve as a hub for residents in southeast Arkansas who desire to utilize rail service. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, through its municipal government, hereby declares its desire that passenger rail service be returned to the city for the benefit of Pine Bluff and surrounding cities.
Here again, all councilmen have signed on as sponsors. I move we accept this resolution.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that a resolution expressing the desire of the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas for return of passenger rail service to the city and surrounding communities. Do we need any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I would just like to make a statement that I believe that the rail service coming to Pine Bluff will be a real enhancement for downtown because it will create traffic, new people, and life in downtown for a change. So I not only will be convenient for people that don't like to fly, but drive to Little Rock at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch the train, and when they can catch it here in Pine Bluff, and it will bring people from all of southeast Arkansas and everything, and UAPB students utilize the rail service as well, because they carry them back and forth. Well, they go and pick them up in Little Rock, and then when they get ready to go home for the holidays, they have to take them to Little Rock to catch the train. So I think it'll be an enhancement for UAPB to say that they have rail service when the children are coming here, that they know that they are going to get off where they are going to be.
Okay, any other discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, we have a resolution providing for the placement of cost of correcting certain nuisance on tax books as delinquent taxes and collected as such.
Whereas
Move for
ACA,
adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution providing for a placement of cost of correcting certain nuisance on tax books as delinquent taxes and collected as such. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in
Mayor,
favor?
I need
Yep.
to,
Have an amendment.
amendment on, I think everyone have a copy
Aye.
of the ones that's gonna come off the list.
Is that 11 or 12?
That's for 11, I do believe. Yes, 11.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
And it states why they're coming off.
Okay. So we need a,
I'll second the amendment.
okay. We have an amendment to the resolution as as presented to each one of you. And you second that amendment. The floor is now open for discussion. Yes, sir.
Where's your amendment, Liz? You don't have it there?
It's this one.
I didn't see that, Liz. You have one?
Yeah, here's one. I have one. I got it.
Let me look at this. I'm trying to figure out. So this amendment is for,
it's gonna be,
not 11.
It's for 11.
it's gonna be for,
Yes.
it's gonna be for 12.
These names are on.
Oh, Lee, okay.
It's not 11?
This is amending resolution number 11. Okay?
Because it's placing cost, which is are the liens that we place on them. That's why it.
Like mowing yards and
coordinates.
things like that.
I did find the name.
Good.
I did, I didn't see the list,
Okay.
so I thought maybe it was, and then there's a dollar amount on 11. It's not a dollar amount on 12, so that's why I was thinking that it was okay. I'm correct.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move for the original as amended, Mayor.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that the original resolution be voted on. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There we have a resolution declaring certain houses, buildings, and our structures as nuisance and ordering their abatement.
Whereas the city council
Move for
has,
adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution declaring certain houses, buildings, and/or structures as nuisance and ordering their abatement. Floor is now open for discussion.
Mayor, I have a question here. Mr. Price indicated that he had a letter of appeal. If we got an appeal process that has to be dealt with, then maybe we need to do that before we do this.
I think you're probably right.
I don't,
Do we want to get,
he can still file his appeal.
But my question is, why should we go through this? We got an appeal process.
Well, he hasn't provided any paperwork as it relates to his appeal of the, I guess, the planning commission.
It's an appeal to what's called the Board of Code Adjustments, which is in the city code.
Do we have anything?
We have a board, it's not fully staffed with the members, but we do have a Board of Code Adjustments. And the code requires that an appeal to the Board of Code Adjustments be made within 30 days after the individual receives a notice of the violations from the inspector.
Do we have any of those?
Like, you know,
Those people you're talking about.
honestly, we have people who theoretically have held over, but no one has been appointed to the board since the mid-2000s.
But I'm gonna ask you again, though, maybe you're not hearing, do we have any of those?
There's no one serving right
Okay,
now.
okay, that's all I want.
I translate, Alderman Steps.
He said the board in which the
Well, these appeals are too then.
appeals, we don't have that board, and they were a functioning board at one time, but it hadn't been anybody appointed back to that board.
So it doesn't exist now.
No, let me be clear. Legally, the board exists because it's provided for in the city code. So it continues as a legal entity. At the present time, no one has been appointed to succeed the former appointees for many years, and they have not met for many years. But I understand there is in process now a gathering of applications to restaff the committee, so this appeal, if you allow it, will be held by a new board with new appointees that will be brought to for approval. Since it's in the city council, so it purview to approve the appointments to the board.
Alderman Steps, help me, I'm lost.
What he said, legally, there is a board, but it's not functioning at this point, because at the last, I think in 2000, there were some people there were some holdovers, and they haven't had a meeting. So I guess my question is, as I understand you to say that we, in the present, we're trying to get some people to serve in this capacity?
We're in the process of getting those appointed to the board, yes. And at that time, we didn't realize that it was a functioning board until it was brought to our attention.
And unless it has some sort of an appeal or something to deal with, then it would not meet. So the fact it hadn't met just because it hadn't had any appeals, I suppose.
Well, a couple of things concerns me here. You know, if we have a process, and that's what we're dealing with, processes here, then I think that we ought to at least offer the citizens the process. And there was another question that was raised, is that when Deal was here, Mr. Deal was here, he was talking about how far those barrels had extended down. There's another building between the end of the building. Why would those barrels be extended that far down? I think that's a real issue, a real question that I didn't hear an answer to. And hopefully that this report from the engineers will show the distances where they say that they should be or shouldn't be. Is that what the report is going to say?
It will say that, Alderman Steps, and I do not know the exact terminology, but you have to have a distance that equates to the height, the number of floors of the building, and the circumference of the building, and then you have to go out a certain amount from that. So, not being a structural engineer, I'm ad-libbing what that certified structural engineer recommended. But I do know that we did have them back out here, and he did meet with the street department, and what we have blocked off now is according to the structural engineer's report. So, yes, ma'am.
Mayor, because as Alderman Steps has said, that there have been things going back and forth of who blocked off the street and this type of thing. But if this was done, do we have written documentation as to the certain area that is blocked off and why it's blocked off, and we we have some documentation.
Yes, ma'am. It's the structural engineer's report.
Okay. Well, maybe if the council, if you could get that to each council member as well as Mr. Deal, maybe that would give him some satisfaction as well, because I can see what he's saying. He's on one corner, and all of these buildings is between. If the building falls, it's not going to directly affect his. So if that's in writing, maybe it would help all of us to understand.
I'll be more than happy to send it in the morning. Yeah. And that's what we have been going by since we received the copy of the structural engineer report.
And
Prior to that, though, we did have it blocked off more so because of public safety and with our fire department, our police department. I could say it was probably done a little bit more than what the structural engineer came back and said. We did contact the structural engineer maybe a month and a half ago, asking if we could pull in the barrels and tighten it up a little bit more, and he would not change his report, because if he does, he's liable.
Mayor, I would like to have that in a hard copy with a signature.
I'm sorry, what now?
I'd like to have that in a hard copy.
Have what?
The information that you took about this.
It's a certified report.
I'd like to have it in a hard copy and a signature.
Okay.
because with where Mr. Deal is located, I know there maybe his customers would not want to pass there, but I have watched people walk right down through there. They don't hesitate. They act just like, well, the barrel's over there, so I just keep going on down the sidewalk. You know, it doesn't change. And one other thing, I don't know who have the answer to this, but I've been asked numerous times. There's a vehicle that's set in that area. Before that, it was sitting on the side, and it sat there for I don't know how long, and now it's sitting inside where those barrels are. Whose vehicle is that?
I don't know.
And what is the reason?
I don't know.
Okay, Larry said he know. Is yours?
Ironically, I asked Mr. Gill that today because my wife has asked me that question for over a year.
Okay, I know it's been there a year.
It is his vehicle. It's part of a title. It's their delivery vehicle. They use that for inner office, for them, the ladies to transport back and forth to the courthouse, other places. But it belongs to part of a title.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other discussion or comments?
Mayor, I remember back when the discussions about UAPB's homecoming parade, that I contacted you and others and asked about what we could do. And the response I got was that structural engineer said he was not willing to bid one iota. I've seen the report. I don't know why everybody hasn't.
You saw it.
I think it was emailed. I think the city, the papers had it.
We haven't seen it.
The papers printed about it.
I don't believe that the paper said. Tell them to write that.
I'll be more than happy to send it back out to each one of you tomorrow. More than happy. Any other comment? Yes, sir.
What Alderman Step was asking, are we going before the cart in this, or are we putting the where it's supposed to be? That's why I kept asking Alderman Step to give me some clarification.
Here's what I want to say. I don't even want to have to bring up some old stuff, but what makes it difficult for me to sit here and I make a ruling on a citizen's property, and we got some property downtown. It's just an accident waiting to happen. It's in almost as worse shape as this property, and it's difficult. And I know we know about it because I brought it to our attention. And it concerns me that if we have this property that belongs to us, and we are passing judgment on a citizens, then who's gonna pass judgment on us? I'm just saying.
Okay.
I totally agree with you.
On Second Street, right beside the scene of the walls on the building and no top on it.
That structure that you're referring to was brought to our attention week before last, I believe it was. And what's interesting, we looked it up, and 2007 or 8, the city council voted to receive in the Sanger Theater along with the building that's next to it. I think it's west of the Sanger Theater. And when you brought that building in and voted to receive it in, it did not have a roof on it at that time. And we've been trying to figure out, why did the city receive a building that didn't have a roof on it? We've not found anybody that can answer that question for us. We're still looking, but I think structurally it has not started collapsing. But I agree with you, Alderman Steps. We're working on that one as we speak, trying to figure out and get an assessment on the structural part of it.
And I'm just saying, until we get that, then I don't even want to be voting on against somebody else's stuff, and our stuff is out of order.
So you're saying allow that building to stay like it is for several years?
No.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We're going to let that stay like it is for several years?
We're working on that one.
I yield, Ms. Walker, I've been next.
And I just want to make one statement, since you brought up the Singer Theater. And I think Alderman Brummett will probably, well, I don't know if he know of the incident, but at one time, they were saying that the Singer Theater, that the bricks were falling, and there were chances that it may collapse, because I had a conversation about the building, because the street department, well, it was, I don't know where the street department did it, but it was blocked off, and Terry's Restaurant did not have parking because they had put barrels along there to block it off. And it was supposed to be for the safety, but now the barrels are gone and the Singer Theater is still standing there, and you know, life goes on. And so sometimes everything is not all the way that it's made to appear at the time that a person wants something done.
The Sanger Theater has a brand new roof on it and all the fascia around it.
I'm not talking about what it has. I know what it has on it now, but what I'm saying is they were saying that it was chances of the wall falling at that particular time. So, you know, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Any other?
Yes, I certainly understand that the city owns the Singer Theater. And unfortunately, I was one to go against it. So I'm not responsible. But, you know, it was a unanimous vote, but it was enough numbers to override the way I was thinking. However, we did, in the same night, we voted to give, allocate or whatever. I think $15,000 to do some kind of work to that building. I forgot what it was. The year that the mayor was trying to get it. That year I didn't remember, and I never really wanted to say it there. However, what Alderman Steph was saying is we're making a decision on a building that's owned by a private investor or a private regular citizen, and the city itself has a building that has dropped bricks. That's one of my best ways to be there to put us back to my job. And I do remember when the brick or two fell, and somehow we were able to clear it up, see the building, nothing new that's happened to the building. So we kind of, you know, we're gonna make a decision on somebody else, and our front door, back door is not clean. I just don't think that's fair. And we're not talking about popcorn to do this, and we're trying to get it, we're trying to move it expeditiously, and it's not going to take popcorn money to do it. I think that we need to give this particular citizen ample time to do the things that he needs to do in order to come in compliance with this. I don't think we ought to arm wrestle him, or anybody for that matter, to get them to do something that they said that they were going to do, and they know that it needs to be done. That's how I feel about that. Thank you very much.
Any other? Yes, sir.
Man, in our meeting, when we met with Mr. Trice, I think we sort of left it open to where he still had an opportunity to start some kind of work on the thing, clean it up, even if we left it on the condemned list, he still had an opportunity to go through his appeal, and also had an opportunity, if he want to start work on it, before the city gonna take any kind of action on it.
Correct,
So he had that opportunity,
correct.
as of the night, or as of the day, or whenever, if that's his design.
Okay. Any other
It
comments?
was the recommendation of the committee that we leave these on for condemnation.
Okay. May we have roll call, please?
Alderman Brumman,
Aye.
And what is this voting on?
This resolution.
I got you what?
If you're gonna take something off, you gotta do an amendment and get it voted on first.
I'm going to do an amendment and remove it all.
Which one?
That's number
7, okay.
7.
Number 7.
Yeah,
Page 3.
page 3, number 7.
Okay, we have an amendment. Do we have a motion? Second? Okay. We have a motion, and it's been second that number 7, Medic Transport Incorporated, Garland Trice, building location 620 South Main Street, be removed from the condemnation list. Any discussion?
We take it off, and then what?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't know.
What happens next?
Well, it would have to go back to the Board of Code Adjustments, once it is staff, the members, it would be heard by that.
That's where his appeal goes to.
That's the administrative appeal. The Planning and Development Committee is a legislative hearing. It's a little different.
Which is the proper process to go through?
In the city code, if a person files an appeal of a determination by a code enforcement officer as to either the accuracy of the interpretation or the remedy recommended, they can file this appeal with code and zoning adjustments, which is the first stop. And then, depending upon what they come up with, if the recommendation from that board would be to continue without change, then they go to the legislative side where they can ask for grace from the legislative committee to withhold action.
So you're saying the legislative committee is the final committee or the final body to determine?
First you have inspector,
Uh-huh.
then you have the board of zoning adjustments.
Okay,
Adjustments. Then you have the planning committee, then you have the city council.
okay,
And then I guess if you're you can have the circuit court if you're really determined. But
okay, okay. So the legislative body is the last authoritative body?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, which is Planning and Development
We'll
Committee?
make the recommendation, of course, of the council.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but, yeah, we don't have a zoning adjustment board, right?
We have a board, it's just, right now, there's not any membership, at least not functioning membership.
Okay, how long has it been since they've ever met? I didn't know we had one.
Or 2000,
2000,
yeah,
14 years ago.
quite. So,
But if they don't have an appeal, they would have no reason to meet.
Probably because no one knew that we had one to appeal to, because I didn't know it until now.
Well, it should be said, it's in the city code, and the city code is public record, and it's, everybody's charged with what the law is, and it's a record, and it's there, and it's been there.
But is it something that is told to the people when they are cited, that they have an appeal process, that they can appeal to the board?
City code says that, it doesn't say whether it's the actual responsibility of the code officer. It just says that that the code officer will provide appeal forms if an appeal is desired.
okay, that's telling them, if you got a, whether you verbally say it or not, if you got a form that you should be giving to the citizen, that's telling them.
But they haven't filed it.
They didn't tell me they had no form, they didn't tell me. They didn't get no form. Well, I got an amendment on the board.
Okay, yes, there is amendment on the floor. Are we through with discussion? All in favor of the amendment as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Amendment carries, removing the name off the list. Now, going back to the original motion.
Move for the original as amended.
It's been properly moved and second that the original resolution as presented be adopted. Floor is now open for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Again, what is the status now of Trice Building? Is it back to,
What is your question?
is he appeal now, or what should Mr. Trice do? We need to give him some direction.
This document we haven't seen, but it purports to be an appeal. So it would, as soon as the board is constituted, Mr. Trice will be notified to come and make his case.
Okay.
Okay, and then have the appeal board decides. Then, once that decision is made, and that decision is, Mr. Trice is not in favor of that decision or likes the recommendation, then it comes back to P&D?
They can, since they've already considered it, it doesn't necessarily have to go through.
Okay. Okay.
The next stop normally.
Okay, so the appeal board, and then we'll see. Okay, all right.
Okay.
13.
Mr. Trice should file his appeal, is what we're saying. Make sure you get the paperwork turned in. You got the proper form? I know, but you've been made aware that there is a form. I understand. Okay, we have a resolution directing the street department to install streetlights in the Green Meadows neighborhood area.
Whereas there is an absence of streetlights in the Green Meadow neighborhood area, particularly in the 200 and 300 block of Green Meadows, but also throughout the area. And whereas the presence of streetlights help deter criminal activity and promote security in the area. And whereas the residents of the Green Meadows area as taxpayers and property owners deserve the attention of city government in efforts to make their neighborhoods safe. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the street department is directed to take immediate steps to survey the Green Meadows neighborhood area and install as many streetlights as needed to provide adequate illumination for the protection and security of the residents of the area. The street department director shall report back to the City Council within 90 days with a status update regarding installation of the lights.
Move for adoption.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution directing the street department install street lights in the Green Meadows neighborhood area. Floor is now open for discussion. Alderman Steps.
You know, I've had people call me about putting lights out there off of Water Street, going, I guess that's old man, because the young man was killed. And I done had several people call, wanting lights here and there. I'm not against Green Meadows getting no lights, but all I'm saying is that, what are we getting ready to do? You getting ready to open up Pandora's box for every neighborhood in this town to say our lighting is bad, and to say as many lights as they needed. I don't know if we got that much money in our whole budget. It's I'm not against them getting it, and I understand that what Alderman Holcomb was doing because he got a request from his ward. But all I'm saying is that this could create a very big problem for the city financially.
Alderman Brown.
Thank you very much. Alderman Steps, and you know you don't have no business saying that when these people are taxpayers. If you look at one property where you live, it's just through that. So you know you shouldn't say that because this is taxpayers. Those streetlights are paid for by your tax dollars, and you know that if it's a right, then they have the right to the franchise. just like they have a right to complain about a ditch, a pothole in front of their house.
You misunderstood.
They pay taxes.
You misunderstood.
You said we gonna hold them up some, if we have, no.
Wait just a minute, Alderman Brown's got the floor.
Listen, that's not good to send you open Pandora's box because these are taxpayers. That box should be already open. It should stay like this all the time because these are taxpayers. So we shouldn't even say that it's gonna open up a box because they are taxpayers. If they live in the city, then there should be a light somewhere within a block of their house. Now, you go back to the city and look, that's where it is.
Let me make an observation.
Okay.
They are taxpayers, and we are held accountable for making decisions on monies.
Right.
Do you have enough money to go and do what's being requested of us? And I'd love to see them with some lights down there. But I'm telling you, we might as well be realistic. This could be a phenomenal cost. And I'm not trying to discount Green Meadows because I think I know what he's talking about, but all I know is we've had 1,000 calls come in here about lights.
Yes, sir.
Well, we do need lights all over the city. And I've had calls not only from Green Meadows, but from people from different wards. But it's been a big concern in the Green Meadows area. And there's a lot of elderly people who live out in that area. And there are some lights, but in that area, it's real dark. It's real dark in where I live at. And as I discussed with some of the aldermen tonight, it's dark on their street. It's dark in this city. And if we do open Pandora's box, this is a box that needs opening because we need more lighting in this city. And I think this is something we need to put more money into. That's just something I feel strong about.
Yes, sir.
That's what a part of the municipal adjustment franchise fees is for, coming up utility bills. On our energy bill, Mr. Miller was saying a while back, we get 1.5 million a year coming on that off the utility bill, and it's like $500,000 coming off our center point bills. That money was put on those bills for things like this. And on the steps, I disagree. If we open up Pandora's box, the city is dark at night, and something needs to be done. As soon as you cross over on Dollarway Road into Whitehall, it's lit up all the way. I don't have anything against the city of Whitehall, but I'm just saying we deserve better lighting. And if you ride around at night, you understand. I'm supporting this 100% because you ride around at night in the city of Pine Bluff, all those lights are not illuminated properly. They're very dim, even at the highest point of nighttime, and it looks real bad. So if it opens up Pandora's box or whatever that means, I'm supporting this because we need to light the city up.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make one thing clear to all the citizens and the reporter. See, Mays, you misunderstood me. I'm not against Green Meadows. I am saying that when the time comes for the revenue for it, where will it come from? Now, maybe you can tell us where the money's going to come from. All of us want these things, but we have to be realistically, do we have the revenue that can pay for it? Or does it come from the energy tax that you're talking about, or where it's coming from? Steve Miller, do we have that kind of revenue? And all of us, we just got through the budget process. I'd like to see it happen. But somebody need to tell me where the money's gonna come from.
Well, the budget that was submitted to the council was balanced, and by that I mean the revenues equaled expenses, including the $500,000 contribution to the reserve. But since there have been needs recognized by the council committees, and over $100,000 of expense added into the budget, and there are discussions about equalizing pay in police and fire that may cost $150,000 or $200,000, and we continue to have issues with revenues being flat or declining, and our expenses going up every year. There are expenses that go up every year that we can't control, like retirement for police and fire went up $120,000 this year. It'll go up $120,000 next year. So if our revenue, if our tax base doesn't grow, then we're going to continue to get further and further behind. Meanwhile, people haven't had a pay raise. A cost of a 3% pay raise is about $500,000 a year. And people, you know, that continues to hang over us. For the street lights, I think we spend $500,000 a year in the street department budget to keep the street lights going, and that's paid to Entergy. So as we add street lights, you know, we're going to have to pay more for, you know, the energy to keep them burning. And, you know, I have read articles that Little Rock is studying a program to put in new LED street lights, and Entergy's working with them on that, you know, to reduce the cost. And I contacted the fellow that is our representative for Entergy, saying that, you know, we'd be interested in that too, but you know, I guess it's not time yet. I don't remember a specific response, but I would suggest, and this being studied further in committee, to determine what the cost would be to add it to all the areas and maybe involve Entergy and see what they could do to make it more efficient. I know Entergy would have to make an investment to put LED lights or some more efficient system in, but maybe those, if they could, those savings could allow more lights to be put in the city at the same cost.
Mr. Miller, before you, what did you say about the $500,000 reserve?
Yes, the mayor's budget includes the expense to deposit $500,000 in the reserve at the end of 2015.
I just want to understand.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Alderman Brummett?
Aye.
Alderman Stamps? No. Alderman Walker?
I support the idea, but I know that it's not feasible. And at some point, I feel that we could probably target some areas of Green Meadows. It's not, you know, it's my area as well, but it's still a commitment to the rest of the ward as well. But I think that we can give them some relief without complete commitment to the whole area. Yes.
Alderman Boyd?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Mays?
Yes.
Alderman Hope?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes our agenda. I move we adjourn.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All right, going once, going twice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.